The South Carolina State Infrastructure Transportation Bank Board recently voted to end its funding for the potential 526 extension. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with the former South Carolina State Infrastructure Transportation Bank Board Chairman, Vince Graham, one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Vince Graham.
Quintin, Washington. How are you?
Good yourself?
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, sir.
I'm an inquisitive friend.
That's right. I know that I haven't personally seen you since last year. Who is Vince Graham a year later?
It's probably the same guy, still busy. We're working on our little development projects in the old village. We have one called Earl's Court, a little mixed-use addition of the neighborhood, and downtown working with Reed Burgess on a little street called Catfiddle Street off Bogart. So it's fun.
That's good to hear. Well, you talk about inquisitive, and you talk about obviously development. Let me take you to 526. And this is from June 26th. From Calendar2.com, it reads this: State Infrastructure Bank dissolves contract to fund I-526 completion project. The bank board chairman, John White, says it's a funding issue and they need to see money. The county attorney, however, says it's a contract issue. And Vic Rawls says the county has met its obligations and sent the proposal to the bank already. So who's right and who's wrong?
Well, I don't think the contract was disputed. I mean, the infrastructure bank said we will honor the commitment. We've said that since 2015, of up to $420 million. And we just expect the county to show us the money on how they're going to fund the balance. And that's been the refrain since December 2015. And despite a lot of negotiations and a lot of time spent, the county has yet to come forward with a concrete plan of how they're going to show us the money. I'm kind of reminded, you remember that movie Jerry Maguire with Cuba Gooding and Tom Cruise, and Jerry's like, or the Cuba Gooding character is like, show me the money, show me the money. And I feel like we need to send in Cuba Gooding to get through to these people, but anyway, I digress.
Oh, no worries. I know that, off camera you basically said, hey, they're all obviously there are alternatives to 526.
Right.
What are those in your mind?
Well, Quintin, I think that really we need a new vision for transportation in Charleston County. One that looks to lessons from the past, that avoids mistakes in the past as much as we can. And unfortunately, we keep doing the same thing over and over again, that is building road capacity, widening roads, expecting a different result. And we're just getting more traffic congestion. That's been the case for the last half century or more.
Okay.
And so a new transportation vision involves new modes of transportation, less automobile dependent, building places where we can walk, where we can ride bikes, where public transit actually works. For public transit to work, that means you have to have more dense places. And fortunately, we have great examples in the Low Country, the old village of Mount Pleasant, downtown Charleston, historic Beaufort, all over the state we have good examples. But instead of learning from those and emulating those, instead we keep trying to build more road capacity, and then we have this big problem. So one of the things that I think should be understood is the power of a street network.
Okay.
And if you like, I have just a little math game that I'll show you.
Okay.
So suppose you're at this point A, and you're trying to get to a point B, and you have one road linking A to B. You have just one way to get there, right? If you add a second road, now there's two ways. If you bisect this, and this time, to keep it simple, let's add the caveat that you can only move in one of two directions. You can't double back. Well, then there are three possible ways. First two, and then this third one. if you bisect it again, now there are 6 unique ways. The first 3, 4, 5, 6. The traffic diffuses through the network. Now just to show you the power of that, the equation for that is a factorial equation called the Hawthorne traffic equation, where X is the number of east-west blocks and Y north-south blocks. So it's 2 plus 2 factorial, or 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 2 times 1 times 2 times 1. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Now the more streets you add, the more connectivity you have, the more possible routes there are to get from A to B. Say, for example, you have a network of 10 blocks by 10 blocks.
Okay.
Then using the equation, there are 185,000 possible ways to get from A to B.
Okay.
And this allows your streets to be small, more pedestrian oriented, and the traffic to diffuse through the system. That makes sense. If you think about the alternative, the way we've been building roads like 526 or Coleman Boulevard or Savannah Highway, we build these big arterial roads, right? These big, like typically 5-lane roads or even bigger. So in this scenario, you might have a cul-de-sac here and a shopping center here and some fast food and an auto dealership, but there's still only one way to get from A to B. So traffic builds up and we extend the roads further this way, but there's still no network. There's still only one way to get from A to B. And so we add lanes. But when there's a traffic accident, it ties up the traffic, it clogs it up. In a network, you can go around. And so one of the things that's been proposed for Johns Island for 10 years now, and still the county has not moved forward on it, is a pitchfork. So you have River Road and Maybank.
Right.
And the idea was to have a pitchfork like this, so the traffic could come in here, hit one of these roads, and it wouldn't concentrate all the traffic in the middle. So it diffuses the roads, or it diffuses the traffic. Now, this system in networks, the network example is, well, this is kind of a network here. This is much, much less expensive than building a $30 million interchange. And, I wonder sometimes, I think a lot of our transportation policy is driven by road contractors and engineers. They contribute heavily to local politicians, to political campaigns, and it's big money for them, these big road projects.
Okay.
And so it's just kind of bewildering to me that we don't move forward with this. It's like they're resisting this, waiting for pressure to build, so there's more and more pressure to build 526. When this is the pitchfork would be a much less expensive way to handle the traffic here.
What is the estimated cost for a pitchfork plan like this?
I haven't seen the latest one, but I would imagine, a few $1 million compared to multi-million dollars.
Okay.
A typical interchange, that 526 is supposed to fly over
Right.
Maybank Highway. A typical interchange is about $30 million.
Okay. So where can they get this money from to start this project, or even 526 if it's even feasible at this point?
I just don't. I hate to say, the money's not flowing for these projects anymore. They're very expensive. They don't pay for themselves. I was, when I was still on the bank board, we had a presentation from the DOT about widening the existing 526. For example, to add a lane between Paul Cantrell Boulevard and Rivers Avenue and fix up the big major interchange at 526 and 26 was going to cost $730 or $50 million, something like that. It's more than the projected cost of the new 520, or the extended 526, and that was just adding a lane in each direction, and it still, Quintin, wasn't expected to reduce congestion. So, you know, it's these big, giant road projects are expensive. And that's why my point earlier of let's take lessons from places like, you know, Charleston, that are resilient, that are very old, that diffuse traffic. I'm not suggesting that everybody live downtown Charleston, although if price is any measure of desirability, it's a very desirable place to live.
And let me stay in that area. Obviously, the Wando Bridge was shut down on the westbound side, I guess 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. When you first heard that, what was going through your mind?
Well, I just, again, it's kind of the fragility of the system we built. We're so reliant on automobiles to get around. We expect that that's how everybody will get around, although not everybody can even afford a car, but yet we expect everybody to do that. And if we put all our eggs in that automotive basket, it's when something like that happens, which infrastructure is aging, it's in that particular instance, you can see that it's kind of literally rotting from the inside out. And that section of 526 between Mount Pleasant and 26 is basically one long bridge. You know, there's bridges that cross the Wando and the Cooper, right, but the whole thing is raised up. Like, I mean, you've been along Daniel Island and over in North Charleston. It's a continuous bridge almost the whole way. Right. So it's going to be expensive to just maintain that, much less add new infrastructure. And I just, you know, I'm afraid what we did, Quintin, and we took a lot of questionable ideas about urbanism and transportation design that were developed even before World War II. We funded those. We built all these roads all over everywhere, just kind of completely dismissing and ignoring these tried and true examples. And now we're in trouble. How we're going to continue to fund those and build new roads and rely on automotive transportation? It's an imagination crisis, is what it really is. And so we're going to have to think differently. We have to think differently.
Where is your confidence in the Charleston County Council, the State Infrastructure Transportation Bank, and the DOT?
Well, I think there are some good people on council. I know there's some great people on at the DOT and at the Infrastructure Bank. But it's, and we have to face reality. We have to develop a vision, and we have to assure that there are resources there for that vision. Otherwise, it's just a pipe dream. And I'm afraid this idea that we can just expect money to keep coming from Columbia or Washington to build these kind of 1950s style giant highways, that no longer works.
Vince Graham, thank you so much for your time. I really, really, really appreciate this.
Sure, Quintin. Great to see you again.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.